going to give you a flavor of what we go for it. We're going to give you a flavor of what we've been doing through a PowerPoint presentation, which has a bit of audio video content. So the opening slide really just highlights the ACLT. As much as we target people from our ethnicity, our work is for everyone: Black, white, Asian, Oriental, mixed race, male, female, young and old, but heavily targeted, as you well know, because of the need for the best matches coming from people from the same racial background. So myself, Beverly, we're the parents of the individual that is the reason why we started this 25 years ago.
Yeah, we're the parents of Daniel DeGale. Our son Daniel was diagnosed with leukemia when he was 6 years old, back in April 1993. And like anybody who's diagnosed with a blood cancer, he was immediately taken to Great Ormond Street Hospital in London. And he was given a diagnosis of acute lymphoblastic leukemia, which is a leukemia that's common with children. He went on 2 years of treatments, and at the end of it, they said, great, everything's going really well. Daniel's in remission, you can go home, get on with life. And pretty much that's what we did. But 9 months after Daniel's been in remission, sadly, he suffered a relapse. The leukemia came back. And it was at this point that the doctors at Great Ormond Street said to us, in order for Daniel to survive this cancer, because it's more aggressive than we'd initially thought, he's going to need a bone marrow transplant. And so they looked within our family. Daniel has a sister, Dominique. She was 3 at the time. She was checked. Unfortunately, she wasn't a match for him. And then we looked at the wider family. Unfortunately, there wasn't a match. And as you know, brothers and sisters have a 1 in 4 chance of actually matching. And so our doctor at Great Ormond Street said something to us that changed our lives forever. He basically told us that because Daniel was Black, the chances of him finding a donor were remote. And he quoted to us at the time, 1 in 250,000 chance, which absolutely blew us away. 1 in 250,000 chance of finding a matching donor simply because of the color of his skin. And so for myself and Orin, that was the green light that told us we needed to do something very quickly. Anthony Nolan had been going 24 years, had done an amazing job registering people onto the UK stem cell registers or bone marrow registers, but the communication or the relationship with the Black community hadn't really kicked off. And we felt that we had the tools to be able to try and engage with the Black community. And so in the meantime, Daniel went on another 2 years of treatment. And in that time, we were slowly starting to engage with the Black community, getting them to hear our story, to try and help Daniel, and trickles of people started coming through. Daniel finished that 2 years. And at the end of it, again, we was told, go home. Hopefully everything will be okay. But again, Daniel relapsed again 9 months later after he finished his treatments.
And so for us, Daniel's story crystallized what the mission, the aim, objective, the vision of the ACLT is all about, which is highlighted on the screen, in terms of just trying to make sure that people living with blood cancer and other illnesses where a matched donor is required to save a life. That's what we want to do. We want to make sure no one should succumb waiting for a donor to become available. So we moved on that at record pace. And for myself and Beverly, this was very much a balancing act between the day jobs, project management, IT, infrastructures, and all sorts of things. And but at the same time, trying to look after Daniel, his younger sister, and other family members, setting up networks, other families coming to the ACLT and saying, well, we've heard about Daniel and your charity, can you help us? And so we were, metaphorically speaking, arm in arm, walking this journey with other families, starting recruitment drives, from scratch, but having to learn as we go along. So it was very much a balancing act for us. And then in 2001, we decided to start doing this full time. and fundraising, raising awareness, presentations to educational, corporate, public domain, and the religious sector, learning to become phlebotomists, because back then you had to take blood to join the register. So Beverly and others got trained to become phlebotomists and take blood, and so on and so on, and just being there for others. And that's you know, that's what we were doing all the time, helping other families throughout from the diagnosis through that transition to treatment, setbacks, success, non-success, but being there at the end, regardless how that journey manifested itself. And we've been doing that with so many people for the last 25 years, and we will continue doing that. That's our legacy. But ultimately, like yourselves, it's about saving lives, volunteering to give your time, like we all are on a Saturday afternoon, giving ourselves at that time to inform, motivate, inspire each other to find donors, find those needles in the haystack that were out there.
I think one of the hardest things for us, especially coming from within the Black community, was we would go into, for example, Great Ormond Street Hospital with Dan, and he'd be sitting there having his treatments, and we'd be sitting amongst other families, and we could hear other people saying, oh, they've only found one or two stem cell matches for my little Tommy or my little Jane or you know, that their children. And we would sit there mortified because there wasn't a single match. So hearing those conversations really spurred us on to try and fill in some of the gaps that were obviously there for families that actually there were no matches available.
Yeah, and so we, as I've sort of alluded to earlier, this slide sort of crystallizes over the last 25 years of various different bodies and organizations who have influence in the public sector to try and get their staff, their members, to listen to what we've got to say, and then either make an instant decision or an informed decision maybe down the line about, yes, I've heard, I've felt, I've been touched. Let me see if I can make a difference. And so that's sort of slide crystallizes the work of the charity in the different areas of the public domain. And these are some of the organizations that, you know, who've put their brand towards us and said, yeah, we want to work alongside you because you can help us to help you. As well as celebrities. And you see there, this is just a crystallization of celebrities who've come through the ACLT at various times and said, I'm a Black person, let me be tested. I might be the one, but I also wear another hat. I'm a celebrity, I'm an influencer. I might be able to help by opening doors through my profile, through my brand to help the cause. And so many, many people along the generations within not only the Black community, celebrity and influencers, but even wider community have said, hey, I can help. I may not be Black, but I could help open the door for your message. And what that's done is allowed us to be recognized down the line. And this is the famous Daily Mirror Pride of Britain Awards, which myself and Beverly won in late 2006. You can see that Dame Kelly Holmes and Gary Lineker, who knows our journey probably better than most because his firstborn son, George, was diagnosed with leukemia as a small child. Thankfully, George is a strapping young lad now, and his treatment worked. So Gary really knew and understood our journey. And then the following year, myself and Beverly were on the judging panel for the 2007 awards. And it was a bit like, what do you call it, The Voice or what sort of programs that what's his name? Simon Cowell does.
Yeah, we were on the judging panel.
Yeah, we were on the judging panel.
Picking the new winners of the 2007 Pride of Britain.
Yeah, so, and on top of that, later on, myself and Beverly were given OBEs at different times, actually, about 6 months apart in different honors lists. But it's, Beverly got hers and I got mine, and they're great, but you put them on the shelf, or you put them in a drawer and you get on with the job because they're good, but it's a recognition, but the real work is what we do 24/7. That's what it's about. It's about trying to get more people coming through us. If they haven't gone through to Marrow or Auntie Nolan or DKMS or the blood service or the organ donor service, we, through our messaging, take the generic message and retranslate it in a way that hits the frequency of the person that's watching, listening, feeling. And they say, now I get it. Let me join. Let me take that cheek swab. Let me go and give blood. Let me make sure I'm on the organ donor register. And so that's what we've been doing over the 25 years. And it's, as you see by the numbers at the bottom, indirectly, we've raised the numbers from a standing start of less than 550 Black people to well over 160,000 people throughout the years. And more importantly, closing in on 200 stem cell donors that we directly found.
As Afro-Caribbeans, we're proud of our sense of community. Oh yeah, we're very big on that. We try to help each other in any way we can, except when it comes to saving each other's lives. Even if all we have to do is put our names on a bone marrow register. Not quite so big on that, are we?
There are 24 times more white people than Black on the UK bone marrow register. If you're Black or mixed race, join the register today. Visit aclt.org and see how you could be the one to save a life. ACLT unites to fight leukemia.
I just want to say that there is no doubt that within the Black, we work with, we know the hardest community to engage on this subject matter. And as a double whammy, we come from the largest gene pool in the world. And we have been told officially that you literally need 10 Black people to every white Northern European person that joins the register, because we are so diverse. Yeah. And so it makes our challenge so much harder but that much more important for Anthony Nolan to have more of us on the register than there are currently. 25 years we've been going and we're nowhere near the numbers that we should be, because of what this next slide brings up, the myths and the fears in the Black community.
It's, as it says there in the black and in the red to counter the myths, this is what we hear. We've been hearing this for 25 years. I'm
sure you've heard some of these as well.
And things like sickle cell trait, which is prevalent within the Black community. There's a strong belief that you can't become a blood donor, let alone join a stem cell register. And it's or organ donation, where people feel that something drastically is going to be done to them. Their organs will be harvested if they're in ICU, and they don't realize there's quite a process involved before that decision ever happens. And the stem cell side, people think that their DNA is going to be taken for stop and search purposes and all sorts of rubbish. So these are the things that we have to try and counter. And we just highlight as well from one of the more easier forms of donation, which can lead to becoming a stem cell donor, is becoming a blood donor, because that's a stepping stone to understanding how health matters, especially when the racial matching is important. And the same thing happens on organ donation, where, especially from the South Asian and the Black community, there's a strong need for people to be on the organ donor register, because the ethnicity matching is very critical on certain organs like the kidneys and liver. So bringing it back to stem cell, David Harewood, this famous actor, is symbolic of the journey, what we want people, whoever, whatever their racial background is, this is what David is highlighting. And this was taken at the Notting Hill Carnival, where Beverly, as I mentioned, she took a blood sample from David at the Notting Hill Carnival. We put it into Anthony Nolan, and about 2.5, 3 years later, I took this picture on a Friday morning at the London clinic, because David ended up donating stem cells to an African-American gentleman. And his magic number, I think, was 249 mil. That was the magic number for him. And it went off across the ocean with a courier. And as you know, all you have to show for is a plaster. But David, that was enormous. And he's very much an inspiration for so many others. So for us, it's a matter of looking for kindness of the stranger. And that's what Daniel was looking forward, as Beverly highlighted in his journeys, his setbacks. And I'll let the next couple of minutes just quickly tell what happened.
They knew it would be an emotional roller coaster, a meeting they've been dreaming of for 5 long years. They travelled 4,000 miles and into a different time zone for their first face-to-face encounter with Doreen Carney. The tense atmosphere as they waited was excruciating. So it now really is just a case of waiting. The family in the room just behind me, their emotions have been geared to this moment when Daniel meets the woman who gave him the gift of life for so long, and that meeting really is now just literally moments away.
My mind's blank, it's just anxiety now, just trying to pass time, wait for what's going to happen.
I'm so excited. And on pins and needles, I didn't think I would be like that, but the closer it gets, the more excited I am. I can hook him, right? Okay.
I'm a very serious person, but you make me smile so much because you
need another hug, huh? I'm getting so honored.
I feel like we've known each other for ages already, like we've met each other before, talked a lot, but now in visual it's just it's completely out of this world.
Just seeing Doreen as she walked through the door, your emotions just go through the roof.
And the excitement was far from over because Doreen had brought along some of her own family.
Here's my young man.
There was also a present for Daniel and his sister Dominique, and of course they had something special for Doreen. This is the moment Daniel received Doreen's bone marrow. When he was diagnosed, there were only a few hundred black people on the register. His parents' campaign to find a donor was backed by a host of celebrities, but it was still 6 years before Doreen was found.
I just felt that I wasn't in this position by accident, you know. And I did that for Daniel, that he would be whole and sound and well.
So the emotions of that first meeting are now over, but Doreen has plans for her new family, as she calls them. She wants to show them her city, and this is Detroit, so the first stop has obviously got to be the Motown Museum.
So I'm just going to cut into the video there. We did a tour of the Motown Museum in Detroit. But what this next slide highlights is Daniel's journey afterwards, where he was the first person of his ethnicity to receive a transplant from someone who was unrelated to him at Great Ormond Street Hospital in the UK, and going on to do great things at university with a view to being at the London Olympics as a trained sports physiotherapist with football teams, but having many problems along the way where, unfortunately, as you're seeing on the screen, time caught up with him because of, we feel, the delay, the 6-year delay before Doreen was found, and the toxicity of the chemotherapy and the radiotherapy caught up with Daniel. And in the end, we lost him to multiple organ failure at the age of 21. So Daniel needed all three. He needed stem cell transplant, which he got. He needed blood transfusions, which he got from the age 6 all the way to the age of 21. But he wasn't strong enough to have the final piece, which was an organ transplant. But he's left us a long-standing legacy of inspiring and saving so many lives. Daniel saved countless lives of people who tried to register for him, but ended up actually being heroes, superheroes for others along the way, because we're constantly being told by Auntie Nolan that a donor's been found, from campaigns that were done way back in the day for Daniel and other patients along the way. So we want to make sure that there isn't a repeat of what you're seeing on the screen, where time is run out for others. And we want to make sure that we do enough with yourselves, with what Marrow's doing on campuses, to inspire your peers, to get them to step forward, to avoid adding to these roll calls, because there are individuals like Antoinette, who Beverly works with very closely in terms of trying to counsel and make sure that she's still, with us and fighting the fight. And kidney donors like who are needed for Matthew, we're working on the organ side. We're looking at the blood transfusions, especially for the sickle cell patients, these 3 young children. And Peter McCleave, who represents the mixed race situation. That is the fastest growing demographics within the United Kingdom. Peter is actually mixed race, and around the world. And Peter represents that because he's actually, although visually he looks white, Northern European, Caucasian, he's actually a mixture of Macanese, which is a combination of people from China and Portugal who live and generation after generation live in Macau, which is an offshoot island of China. He's also got Irish and other mixes in there. So he's still to this day fighting the fight, looking for a matching stem cell donor.
Even though he himself has added tens of thousands of people onto the register, so helping others, but unfortunately at this point, a donor has still not been found for him.
But the flip side, of course, is success. And the success, as you saw in the video, Doreen, for Daniel, and there are many others on this screen people who we personally know, and many others who have gone on to be donors for people in this country and around the world. And so we really just want to highlight that, you know, there are many myths and fears and taboos, but that's all they are.
Yeah. We want you, and along with ourselves, working with you, we hope, to be part of the solution.
Yeah, and so as we've highlighted in the words and in the symbols, whether it be needle in the haystack or sands of time, we're just trying to educate and motivate and inspire people to go, yep, I can do this. I can be the ultimate insurance policy. If you ever need me, I'm there. And so just finishing off, like yourselves, this is all about leadership, inspiration, and motivation. As it says on there, when obstacles arise, you change your direction to reach your goal. You do not change your decision to get there, because the road to success is always under construction. And for us, that is the journey. And symbolically, Daniel's there leading that journey for us. And he will always be the leader for us personally and professionally. That really is us. So it's a call to action, and we always say to people, we are ready, and we say to others, are you ready? Thank you for listening. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Michael.
And Robin.
And Robin. Is it Ellen? Eline?
Ellen.
Ellen, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alice, thank